президента Трампа. Нам потрібна його підтримка і бути на нашому боці. Я не вважаю, що може бути щось між нами посередині, бо не дві країни воюють одна з одною, а Росія принесла війну на нашу землю, і ми її, я вважаю, гідно захищаємо. Мирна угода не може бути підписана в Мюнхені, тому що це Мюнхен. І тут немає президента. І тут ми пам'ятаємо, які речі були підписані колись. Так. І я таких речей не повторюю. І тому дуже важливо зрозуміти, мирна угода може бути тільки план про закінчення війни, який передусім повинен бути проговорений і підтриманий між Україною, президентом, і Сполученими Штатами, виключно президентом. Також обов'язково треба важлива роль для країн Європи, тому що ми говоримо про гарантії безпеки як головний момент в будь-якому документі про припинення війни або закінчення війни, гарантії безпеки для України, для всієї Європи. І Україна є частиною вже Європи і буде частиною рівноправною Європейського Союзу. І для нас голос Європи дуже важливий за столом, а не десь за лаштунками. Вони рівноправні партнери. Це можна подивитись через той вклад грошовий і військовий, гуманітарний, різний, фінансовий, який Європа вкладала разом з нашими друзями Сполучених Штатів Америки. Сьогодні у нас була велика бесіда, довга бесіда. Я подякував двопартійній підтримці, дякуємо сенаторам, конгресменам, людям Сполучених Штатів Америки. І я дуже вдячний людям Європи за те, що всі ці люди, суспільство передусім, підтримали життя українського суспільства. Ось про що йдеться. Що стосується моєї зустрічі з американськими колегами, у нас багато зустрічей, я цьому дуже радий. У нас була хороша розмова з президентом Трампом, і ми отримали пропозицію щодо інвестування в critical minerals України, і ми про це багато говорили. Я говорив, що треба захищати Україну, наші ресурси. Чому їх треба захищати? А якщо ми говоримо прагматично, а не тільки про безпеку Європи, хоча я вважаю, що безпека Європи передусім, і люди – це пріоритет, але говорити можна і фінансово, прагматично. Коли ми говоримо про захист наших ресурсів, щоб вони не попали в руки повністю окупаційній Росії і також їх союзникам, треба все це захищати. А якщо країни їх це захищають, це дуже важливо, коротше треба. I'll be short. Okay, it's difficult to be short, sorry.
Не просто бути коротко казати, бо це дуже важливо пояснити всі ці деталі. Таким чином, ці мінерали, ці країни, ми вдячні за підтримку цієї країни, які будуть це нам допомагати захищати. Вони мають пріоритети для того, щоб інвестувати в це. Нам треба робочі місця створювати, і щоб це було також вигідно. Це було дуже важливо, і треба зберегти і не віддавати ні Північній Кореї, ні Китаю, ні знаю з ким Росія після окупації, після дезокупації, кому вони це передадуть. Це мій меседж, і я дуже щаслив, що американські це підтримали, і що міністр фінансів США приїхав до Києва, це його місія, дуже вдячний йому, і він привіз документи, той документ був на моїй столі, я доручив моїм юристам вивчити і дати їх консультації щодо можливих змін. І таким це документ, що не щодо безпеки, а щодо інвестицій меморандуму між двома сторонами. І я знаю, що буду також зустрічатися з віце-президентом. Не знаю, чи сьогодні, може вечором, але я тут до завтра. Таким чином можемо вечір або завтра. Як президент Трамп сказав, можете куди хочеш. Я завжди в Вашингтоні приїжджаю, коли хочеш. Я віце-президент, також можу сказати, також я тут. Можемо зустрітися, коли ви хочете. Я кажу віце-президенту Америки. Це задоволений, я готовий зустрічатися. Не все готовий підписати, але зустрічати.
They will sign right memo how to save critical minerals and etc. If it will be if it will be ready, I hope it will be ready. That's all.
President, does the conversation between Vladimir Putin and President Trump risk embolden Putin? Right. So how do you view this specifically? Are there risks and dangers for the U.S.?
Risk? What is it?
Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump have spoken on the phone. You were briefed on the conversation. Is this a risk for yourself, of course, but also the U.S.?
Phone calls between Putin and Trump would risk for United States? I think not risk for United States. I think for Trump, because he's stronger than Putin, I think so. I think risks for all the world. Because the priorities, we have much more risks than risk for the United States, with all respect, for all of us, with all the big guys. And I think it's very necessary. As I said at the very beginning, I had good conversation with the President Trump. We had some phone calls, and he had phone call with Putin, and he said to me, I think that that he wants to stop the war. I said to him that he is a liar, and you can count on it. I hope that you will pressure him, because I don't trust him. We had such conversations with Putin, direct conversation about ceasefire. So just ceasefire, we don't need just ceasefire. This is global problem. So we had ceasefire. It was my direct decision. And we made a decision that it will be ceasefire and exchange all the prisoners. And he didn't change all the prisoners yet. We've been very happy. That was first step when we brought home more than 100 guys to their family. It was very necessary between us. Even because of this one reason, I had to come to France in 2019 and bring back people. But he will not just, ceasefire and that's all. That's why I said to President, yes, but I think phone calls are phone calls. Let's forget about it. I think what is very important, the meeting, not to make any decisions about Ukraine without Ukraine. This is principal position we will never accept it. And when I said that we will never accept, I'm not speaking just about me. I'm speaking about all our people, all our nation. People will not stop. We will give him pause. Without real security guarantees, we will give him pause. I don't want to, be those person in the history who helped Putin to occupy my country. I don't want it. And that's why I will never do it. I will never do it. And it's very important for me to pressure Putin, put all the sanctions. I think President Trump is ready to do it. He has all this power to do it. That's why I wanted very much to come to Washington any day this century. And to come to Washington. And I think we need very much to make the common plan of civilized people and to share all these things with our friends and with the help of our friends of Europe. It's very necessary not to lose this unity. I'm so proud that we are part of such strong Europe. And I think this is important, very important, not to lose this unity. Before this war, maybe not too much things, by the way, which this war made positively, that unity between the United States and Europe. That's what this war brought. And Putin scared it. I think during the last 20, 25 years, I don't remember how many years he's in Kremlin. So, this is the first time when the unity could pressure him and he couldn't occupy us. because of this unity, because of our people and soldiers, of course, but because of this, not to lose it, and now to make a deal without us or without Europe is not a good idea, and I hope that President Trump doesn't have this idea. I count on it very much. I think I answered on 10 next questions. Sorry.
I have 100 questions, but to the senators.
Yeah,
and maybe
to the senators, please.
To the senators, and maybe let's start with Senator Graham. Are you comfortable with a world in which the president seeks to do deals with authoritarian leaders like Putin or even China before consulting with longstanding allies like Germany and France?
Yeah, I'm very okay with Trump talking to Putin. He talked to him. What I'm not okay with is the world losing deterrence. Why are we in this war? Okay, they invade in 2008 Georgia. They invade in 2014. They're back at it again. So rather than worrying about who Trump is calling, why don't we talk a little bit, how the hell did this happen? I've been coming to this thing for 25 years. John McCain, every conference, Putin sucks. He's a liar. Oh, no, you got him wrong. Putin was here. All the people worried about the phone call, where were you when we needed to stop Putin? Why didn't he invade when Trump was president? Because he was afraid of Trump. That's why he didn't invade. Why did he invade in 2014? Because he could get away with it. Why didn't he invade again? Because he could get away with it. I want to tell you and your people, you're the ally I've been hoping for all my life. Not one American has died defending Ukraine. You've taken our weapons and you've kicked their ass. And I'm very proud to have you as our ally. Now, how does this war end? It ends in a way I hope so we don't do this yet again. Do you all agree with that? So it doesn't matter to me who Trump calls or when he calls. It matters to me how it ends. Afghanistan ended poorly. Do you all agree with that? Well, this will not end poorly. President Trump is not going to do in Ukraine what we did in Afghanistan. He's going to try to find a way to make sure this war ends sooner rather than later. And when I talk to people about at home why it matters, Putin won't stop unless somebody stops him. Well, you're stopping him. But he'll keep going unless we get the conditions right. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to find a way to end this war in a fashion that Putin would be a fool to do it again. Very quickly, how do you deter Putin? You arm this guy to the teeth. Yeah, you give him a bunch of F-16s, not a few F-16s. You give them ATACMS, you give them tanks, because they will fight. Remind me not to invade Ukraine, okay? It just doesn't work out well. So let's arm this guy. Let's do the minerals agreement so we'll have our American business interests. Putin doesn't understand what's going on. If we sign this minerals agreement, Putin is screwed because Trump will defend the deal. So the best thing that's going to happen here is he's going to do a deal with you, I hope, and he will defend America's interest. So this war is going to come in, I hope, sooner rather than later. And it's going to come in a way where it won't happen again. I have every confidence in the world that Donald Trump will end this war in a way that there will be no third invasion of Ukraine.
Senator, would you rule out NATO membership for Ukraine?
I think NATO is ruling that out, not Donald Trump. I think there are members of NATO who are not going to let this man in. But I've got an idea. It comes from the art of the deal. If we can't agree they should be in NATO like right now, can we agree that if there's ever another invasion, the moment they invade, they go into NATO? Let Putin put them in NATO if he wants to. Think of that. If in 2014 we'd had an agreement where if there was another invasion, they would be in NATO, there would have never been an invasion in 2014. So what do I think? I think we let Putin know that if he ever does this again, they're going into NATO really quick.
Senator Shaheen?
Well, I agree. I don't think we should take NATO off the table. I think it's important for us to have as much leverage for Ukraine as possible going into any kind of a negotiation. So I agree with Senator Graham. We need to give them weapons. I think there's bipartisan support in Congress to do that. I think we need to make sure that NATO membership continues to be on the table. And we need to do everything. And we need to ensure that Ukraine is at the negotiating table, because one of the mistakes in Afghanistan was that the Afghan government was not at the negotiating table when President Trump in his first term negotiated a peace agreement there.
Senator Cornyn?
Well, I think one mistake that Americans make sometimes is to assume that other people are just like them and don't recognize that a unique history and culture may affect the way that people like Vladimir Putin view the world. And it's clear that there's no cost-benefit analysis for Putin here because he's sacrificing hundreds of thousands of Russians on the battlefield and now North Koreans dying by the thousands. And Putin doesn't seem to care, and the people of Russia don't seem to be holding him accountable, perhaps because they're only hearing one side of the story. So I think we need to recognize that Putin is driven by a vision of restoring the Russian Empire, and that's why I believe that he won't stop at Ukraine, and that's why it's so important that we must stop him together in Ukraine.
But does a peace deal need to go back to the borders in 2014, the same borders?
I think the peace deal needs to be something that this gentleman right here can sign proudly, and that, first of all, does justice to what happened to Ukraine. Just between Russia and Ukraine, the deal needs to provide that justice for Ukraine. Second, it needs to be structured in such a way that it sends a message that there is no next Ukraine, that Russia does not just move on to another country to play the same script. And the third thing is we need to set it up in such a way that when China is looking at this outcome and they look over at Taiwan, they think, maybe not such a great idea. And there's one thing I feel obliged to add, because we are Codell McCain. We still keep John's name. Partly that's out of affection, but partly it's out of honoring his commitment to hold fast to the Atlantic Alliance. And what I want people here to know is that, at least for the Senate, there is strong majority, super majority, in favor of supporting Ukraine, seeing this through, making sure this does not come off as a win for Putin and embolden him further. And while you will hear, obviously, other voices, there is a strong, strong, big core of people like Dick Blumenthal, who's been in 6 times to Kiev to, battle for this. There is a very strong reservoir of determination in the Senate to see this through, and it is a bipartisan reservoir of determination.
Can I add something? Yeah. Because I think one of the things we haven't talked about, we've talked about the U.S. role, but Europe also has a role. The sanctions that we've put on Russia are a lot stronger if Europe is fully engaged in those sanctions. And Europe has also contributed to ensuring that Ukraine can defend itself. So we've got to remember that it's important for us to act together.
Yeah, and what did we get wrong in 2014? What did we get wrong in 2014? Well, we didn't give Ukraine much weapons at all. We gave you a lot of blankets. So we didn't have the policy of giving you what you need to defend yourself, right? We didn't mention anything about the consequences of another invasion. We didn't seize the moment to integrate our economies by doing mineral deals. Everything we didn't do in 2014, we better do now.
Including going after that shadow fleet that is keeping his money flowing in. That shadow fleet has gotten away with way too much.
But President Zelensky, I mean, what we understood from President Trump is that there'll be no NATO, no U.S. troops, and Trump is happy to carve up land. So again, a reaction to what we've heard this week, and how would you sell it back home? What's been the reaction in Ukraine?
The reaction in Ukraine. The reaction in Ukraine on the battlefield. That's what we have to do, or in all our cities when people just work, try to do business, and not bad, really, and then helps our soldiers. That's the reaction on everything. And of course, when we hear, some not positive messages, of course it has big influence. The worst thing when you have big influence on moral of the people, because, you know, today I think only such things, love to Ukraine, believing and trusting that we will have just peace and will that we will defend our country, and we are right, and it's fair, absolutely. And I think that's things which really hold us. But about the NATO, I mean that I heard so many times from American side. By the way, Biden's administration and now from President Trump, I heard a lot of messages from them by phone. My first phone call with the President Biden, and my first question, will we be in NATO? He said no. And I said, we will see. And then we had more meetings, more questions, but be very honest, United States, they never saw us in NATO. They just spoke about it. But they really didn't want us in NATO. It's true. I'm not about people, and there are a lot of congressmen, yes, senators, it's true, who've been always in participation with our NATO will, but really on the level of leader of the country, on the level of president, never I heard it, but during my term, I never heard that we will be in NATO. Never. So it's not the question to Trump, to President Trump, with all respect to everybody. That's the question to the policy of the United States or of the White House. This is the policy that Ukraine is not in NATO. But it doesn't mean that we can't change this, because now we see that NATO in Europe consists of strong soldiers, mostly in Ukraine. We are not in NATO, but we really have strong army, which can really make stronger NATO everywhere. And I think this is in both interests to have Ukraine in NATO, and both interests, in interest of Ukraine and in interest of NATO. And that's why when we speak, and we spoke with the President Biden, and we spoke with the President Trump, and especially now with the President Trump, I asked, so, okay, if it's not NATO for today, if it's not NATO, we will ask tomorrow, it doesn't matter. But if we're speaking about today, what alternatives? What do you know the alternatives? I don't know. What I see, if we don't have NATO, real NATO, we will make NATO in Ukraine. It means that we need to increase our soldiers, our army, twice. We have 110 brigades. Russia has 220 brigades, real brigades. So they are 2 times bigger than we for today. Yes, but they're increasing mobilization and training, what they're doing now. NATO, this real brigades in Europe, what can I say? The real brigades in Europe, it's about 82. Today I spoke with senators, 82 brigades, and we have 110. Even together, we are not comparable with Russian army. Even together. So we have increased together. So if we speak security guarantees, we have to find money for a bigger army for Ukraine. And also we have to find possibility how to increase production and increase army in Europe. Who knows? Maybe it's common forces. I don't know. We are ready to speak about it.
We have a lot of questions from the floor. I just have one last question for Senator Graham. There's been discussion that China could or even should actually play a role in the Ukraine peace process, even as a guarantor of Russia's good faith or helping out with reconstruction. Is that scenario one that you can envision and that would serve U.S. interests?
Well, if China wanted to help get Russia to end this war, that would be great. How many people would like to see China help Russia end this war? I don't know if they will or not, but I've got a bill called pre-invasion sanctions, that if China invades Taiwan, we're going to have sanctions from hell and tell them what comes their way. Senator Blumenthal and I had a pre-invasion sanctions bill if Russia invaded Ukraine. Nobody wants to be provocative. If we put Ukraine in NATO, it will make Putin mad. Well, I think he's mad already. So it's not about you. He wants to take the place because you got $7 trillion. Quit worrying about making him mad. Make him scared. Quit worried about offending China. Make them think twice about what they're going to do. If you invade Taiwan, we're going to crush your economy. We're going to put tariffs on you. We're going to put sanctions on you. We won't treat you as a normal country because you're not a normal country. What kind of deal am I looking for? One that not only will deter Putin, will deter Xi and anybody else. It's not working being nice to these people and being afraid of these people.
We have a question here, and then a second question over there, and then third.
Oleksiy Goncharenko, member of the Parliament of Ukraine. And my question is to American colleagues. Very striking speech of Vice President Vance right now. He was very critical towards Europe, not so much towards Russia. He almost didn't mention Russia and Russian war against Ukraine. So my question is, today is a happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Love and marriage between, and alliance between America and Europe made both sides of Atlantic Ocean great. You now want to make America great again. But is it right way at the beginning to make America single again? Thank you very much.
Senator Shane.
Look, that's why I said it's important for the United States and Europe to work together on Russia. The transatlantic alliance has been one of the longest relationships of allies, certainly in the U.S. history. And I think it's important to continue that. And I think Vice President Vance missed a good opportunity to point out the past relationship and why we have been successful when we've acted together.
President Zelensky spoke. No, that's an applause line. Go for it.
It's a ridiculous thing to applaud because he said yesterday, if Ukraine is not an independent sovereign nation, we'll sanction the hell out of Russia and maybe use the military. You must have missed that.
But he needs to repeat it.
It was in an interview, so maybe today would have been the right way.
Got another time to say it. With respect to President Zelensky's comment about his need for resources and Senator Sheen's comment about the need for the U.S. and Europe to work together, one very easy way to tie all that together would be to seize Russia's frozen sovereign assets.
Amen.
Or, if that's too frightening, collateralize them against a massive loan to Ukraine that they then backstop if Russia doesn't make good out of reparations afterwards, and get that money flowing. I think that the bankers are frightened about it. People are frightened about what it means for the currency. But I endorse Lindsay's view that this is what do they call it? A nettle that is worth grasping.
Another question.
I'm from the Baltics. In the beginning, nobody wanted Baltics in NATO. And nobody had even defense plans. We had no troops. Now we have it all. And it was legendary Senator McCain who started that campaign. So Senator Graham, if you represent that group, you know, we have many Lithuanians, many Ukrainians, many Poles. We have Central and Eastern European coalition, 25 million American citizens of our descent. We will vote for you. Do it what you did for us. Make Ukraine NATO member.
Well, yeah. I'm okay with you being NATO. I'm just being honest with you. I think there are a few countries who are not. My idea is a little bit different. I want Putin to know if he ever does this again, you go into NATO right away. I want to take the mystery out of what happens if there's another invasion. You get sanctioned. There's a bunch of bad things come your way. We'll have troops on the ground in Ukraine. We'll have American business interest. We'll have a Ukrainian military that nobody in their right mind wants to fight. But how about this idea? If we can't get this man in NATO, like right now, can we tell Putin, sorry, if you ever do this again, he's going in NATO, like right away? Do you think he'd do it if that was clear to him? I don't think he would.
We have a question here.
Trudy Rubin from...
I think we can hear you. Yeah.
Труді Рубін, колумніст із Філадельфія Інквайрі. Президент Зеленський говорив про потребу абсолютних гарантій безпеки, але з твітів президента та його заяв під час телефонної розмови і те, що сказав міністр Хексет, видається, що Америка розглядає тільки європейські війська там, без підтримки з боку США. Я хочу запитати президента, чи вам потрібна американська підтримка для будь-якої європейської контингенту там? І я запитую сенаторів, особливо сенатора Грема, чи ви підтримали американську підтримку для європейського контингенту? Давайте почнемо з Лінсі. У мене не така хороша англійська. Я сказав, що якщо він ще раз починає вторгнення, то вони стають членом НАТО, і це означає, що ми всі боротимемося. Окей, ми говорили про контингенти дуже багато разів, починаючи з цієї пропозиції від європейських партнерів, від Еммануеля. Ми говорили про це з Еммануелем, зі Стармером. З іншими лідерами я говорив про це з Еммануелем, з президентом Трампом, президентом Макроном. І я там теж був, так, це було під час нашого спільного візиту до Парижу, і ми говорили про це багато разів. По-перше, я думаю, що Сполучені Штати повинні бути разом із Європою у підтримці України. Ось чому це є політичним меседжем Путіну. Не лише в плані армії, кількості військ, це політично. Дуже важливо залишатися разом. І гарантії безпеки повинні бути від Сполучених Штатів та Європи разом. Ось чому важливо бути разом з Україною. І якщо ми розглядаємо контингенти як частину гарантій безпеки для України. Це по-перше. По-друге, як я сказав, неважливо, з якої країни ці сили. В будь-якому випадку нам потрібно 1,5 мільйони армій, якщо ми не в НАТО. Якщо ми справді хочемо зупинити після припинення вогню, якщо ми справді хочемо не боятися нової окупації чи нового вторгнення Росії, і це реальні безпекові гарантії. Бо це реальні превентивні безпекові гарантії. Це те, внаслідок чого Путін справді знатиме, що він має 1,5 мільйона армію, і Україна має армію 1,5 мільйона людей. Якщо він хоче прийти і загинути, будь ласка. Тому я думаю, що це справді план для безпекових гарантій, та це не проти НАТО. Так, це дуже допоміжне. Ви не в НАТО, але я думаю, що всі захочуть після цього якщо зараз це недоступне для нас, так, мати таку велику армію в НАТО. Бо в іншому випадку ця армія буде більше, ніж будь-які інші союзи, чи щось таке. Я думаю, що це добре мати міцний союз. Це моя точка зору. І я, справді, між нами, наші військові вже зробили своє домашнє завдання. І де конкретні війська, і я не ділився цим з нашими союзниками, у нас вже є карта з кількістю та типами військ наших партнерів, де вони повинні бути. Отже, ми готові. Як я сказав, ми готові для будь-якого типу рішень, позитивних рішень. Я маю на увазі будь-якого формату зустрічей. Давайте зробимо це. Мені здається, у мене є можливість тільки для двох запитань. Одне тут і одне від пана там. Я думаю... Так, два запитання до вас, пане президенте Зеленський. Я з Аксіос. У вас був дзвінок з президентом Трампом, і навіть він вам дав свій особистий номер телефону наприкінці дзвінка. Це було хорошим жестом, але чи ви відчули, чи ви... А ви йому свій не дали, так? Чи ви відчуваєте, що окрім цього жесту... Чи ви відчуваєте, що президент Трамп справді відданий, як в такому ж плані, як і відданий сенатор Грем Україні? Чи ви турбуєтеся, що в певний момент він може змінити курс і залишити вас самих? І друге питання. Президент Трамп вчора сказав, що будуть розмови в Саудівській Аравії наступного тижня між високопосадовцями з Росії, США та України. Чи можете роз'яснити, чи це відбудеться? Так, дякую вам. Я ніколи не бачив вашого обличчя. Я завжди чув про Аксіос, що ви завжди після телефонних дзвінків моїх з іншими лідерами, що ви знаєте, що відбулося під час телефонних дзвінків. Звідки ви берете інформацію? Звідки ви берете інформацію? Він працює з радником з питань нацбезпеки. Та я дякую. У нас була чудова розмова. Він дав номер телефону, але я думаю, що це було кумедно. Я думаю, що президент Трамп не буде проти того. Я відкрито скажу. Я сказав йому, що ця ідея з датою приїхати до вас, я сказав йому це без дати. Я сказав йому, я думаю, що це геніально. Я сказав йому, і він сказав, ви можете телефонувати в будь-який час. Я сказав, так, дякую вам дуже. Але попереднього разу ви сказали, що я можу телефонувати вам напряму в будь-який час, але не дали мені номер телефону. А він сказав, окей, так. Можете дзвонити в будь-який час, і я сподіваюся, і ми розраховуємо, що справді президент Трамп допоможе нам, і я справді розраховую на нього, бо він президент Сполучених Штатів. Народ Сполучених Штатів, вони проголосували за нього. Він президент. І Сполучені Штати – це найбільший постачальник під час війни, я маю на увазі, у порівнянні з іншими країнами. Європа також, я сказав, але Європа – це загалом континент, а США дали багато, і ось чому я розраховую на нього. Люди проголосували, і ми справді думаємо, я бачу, що так, що він сильна людина. І якщо він стане на наш бік і не буде посередині, я думаю...
Він натисне на Путіна, щоб закінчити війну. Він може це зробити. Це по-перше. Тут багато меседжів навколо нього, багато інформації, так само, як і навколо саудитів. В інформаційному просторі, що це неправда, що це дезінформація. Можливо, росіяни, можливо, хтось інший, можливо, різні люди запускають цю дезінформацію. Це політичні турбуленції. Такі речі, вони руйнують єдність між нами. Це небезпечно. Наприклад, Саудівська Аравія. Я з першою леді відвідаю Саудівську Аравію.
Так, що це все заплановано, ці всі візити, це дуже важливий діалог з цими людьми, що нам допомогли вже повернути дуже багато наших воїнів. У мене є питання, я не буду зараз ділитися багатьма деталями, але дуже важлива місія виконується, і ми будемо розмовляти про ці списки, про дітей, дуже важлива тема дітей, таким чином, і це дуже важка така ситуація, дуже найбільш важка, ніж те, що ми з вами вже обговорювали. Йдеться про десятки тисяч вкрадених дітей Путіним з України. Як їх повернутися? Дуже важко. Я вже багато зустрічей провів на цю тему. Це моя місія. Я не буду зустрічатися з росіянами щодо... Я не знаю, чи їм це сподобається, чи ні. Я не хочу. Я не планую. Я буду зустрічатися тільки з одним русським, це з Путіним. Тільки після того, як ми підготовимо загальний план з Трампом, щоб Путін закінчив війну. Тільки в цьому випадку, в цій мові, я буду з ним зустрічатися. Не буде ніяких інших платформ з компромісами. Дякую президенту Зеленському, дякую сенаторів за участь в нашій панелі.